Jokic. Jokic. He's too damn good. It's not fair, all the things he can do. And, you know, he's so funny. I love the guy. He doesn't look like he's doing anything. You know, he's not going fast. He's not jumping high. You know, it's kind of Larry Birdish, you know, in a way.
I mean, he's the best player in the world. And I think our guys on our team, you know, we have 12 of the best players in the world. And I think they would all tell you he's probably the number one guy right now.
Nikola Jokic isn't just a superstar. He's redefining what it means to be a dominant player in the NBA. The Denver Nuggets franchise centerpiece has taken the league by storm, blending old-school fundamentals with new-age versatility. A 7-foot center who passes like a point guard, scores with surgical efficiency, and dictates the tempo of a game without relying on pure athleticism, Jokic is one of one. And the basketball world has taken notice. NBA coaches, analysts, and former players have run out of words to describe his greatness. Some call him the most skilled big man ever. Others say he's the best player in the world, and many believe he's changing the way the center position is played forever. But what do NBA coaches, the people game planning against him night after night, really think about Jokic? Today, we're diving into what some of the NBA's most respected coaches have to say about the two-time MVP and his massive impact on the game. JJ Redick has seen his fair share of elite talent as a former NBA player, analyst, and as a head coach. But when it comes to Nikola Jokic, he doesn't hold back. He's the best player in the world. In a recent interview, Redick broke down just how difficult it is to slow Jokic down, acknowledging that even when teams lose sleep to try to limit his impact, he still finds a way to control the game.
Yeah, I mean, again, he leads the NBA in touches. He's going to touch the ball, and we tried to limit his touches as much as possible. Thought Rui was outstanding. He was a warrior tonight, a warrior.
That right there is the Jokic effect. Even when teams throw different coverages, defenders, and strategies at him, it doesn't matter. Jokic still dictates the flow of the game. Teams can double him, they can try to limit his touches, they can switch defenders on him, but at the end of the day, he's going to get the ball and he's going to make the right play. But Redick didn't stop there. In another interview, he made it crystal clear where Jokic stands in the NBA hierarchy.
Let me say something real quick. Let me just say something. Nikola Jokic is the best player in the world right now. If you don't believe that, I will respectfully disagree with you. There's no shade. There's no hate. You're allowed to disagree with that statement. He's the best player in the world right now. He's on a historic playoff run.
That's not just high praise. That's a definitive statement. And Redick isn't alone in this belief. Jokic's ability to elevate his game in the playoffs, carry his team when it matters most, and put up historic numbers while making everyone around him better has solidified his place at the top. He's not just a great center. He's not just a unique passer for his position. He's not just an efficient scorer. He's the best player in the world. And as Redick said, if you don't agree, he'll respectfully disagree with you. If there's one coach who understands the nightmare of guarding Nikola Jokic, it's Chris Finch. As the head coach of the Minnesota Timberwolves, Finch has game planned against some of the best players in NBA history. But when it comes to Jokic, he'll be the first to admit that there's no real solution. After a dominant performance from Jokic, Finch couldn't sugarcoat his team's struggles.
I mean, you saw it. He had an MVP, best player in the world performance. I mean, it's, you know, we tried to do a bit of everything on him, and he had it all going. So we didn't really have an answer for him. And honestly, we haven't had a great one from the last couple games.
That's a head coach openly admitting defeat. And Finch isn't alone. Coaches across the league have had the same experience. You throw a double team at him, he finds the open man. You play him one-on-one, he picks you apart in the post, you try to speed him up, he controls the tempo, you force him to be a scorer. He casually drops 40. There is no right answer, only different ways to lose. Greg Popovich has coached against some of the greatest players in NBA history, from Michael Jordan and Shaquille O'Neal to LeBron James and Steph Curry. But when it comes to Nikola Jokic, even Popovich can't help but admire just how unique he is. In one interview, the legendary Spurs coach gave one of the most fitting descriptions of Jokic's game.
He makes me smile. He has a lot of fun out there, and he's unorthodox, and he doesn't look the part. I've said it before, he looks like a kind of a tall pudge kind of guy out there with no real muscle definition, so to speak.
He doesn't look athletic. He doesn't sprint up and down the court. He doesn't jump out of the gym, and then he kicks your butt because he's so skilled. He's clever. He is totally unselfish, and you combine all that, and it's just what a great guy to play with. And on top of everything, he finds people, and when people receive passes, they're happy, and he delivers very often.
This is what makes Jokic such an anomaly. He doesn't fit the mold of an NBA superstar. He isn't built like Giannis or as physically dominant as Shaq. He doesn't explode past defenders like LeBron or drain logo threes like Curry. He doesn't even look like he's moving fast, but somehow he's always 2 steps ahead of the defense. And yet, he dominates the game. It's not because of raw athleticism, it's because of his mind. His ability to read the floor, manipulate defenses, and make his teammates better is something that even Popovich marvels at. But Pop wasn't done there. In another interview, he made it clear that Jokic is in a class of his own.
I don't think anybody can do what Nikola does. I haven't shown him any Nikola tape. He's a one-off, amazing, fantastic phenomenon.
This is coming from a 5-time NBA champion coach, a man who has developed some of the smartest, most skilled players the league has ever seen. And yet, when asked if he uses Jokic's game as a blueprint for Victor Wembanyama, Popovich simply shrugged it off. Because how do you teach something that no one else can do? Jokic isn't just a great player, he's a basketball unicorn, and Popovich wasn't done handing out praise. In yet another interview, he compared Jokic to an all-time legend.
He's too damn good. It's not fair, all the things he can do. And, you know, he's so funny. I love the guy. He doesn't look like he's doing anything. You know, he's not going fast. He's not jumping high. You know, it's kind of Larry Birdish, you know, in a way. But talk about skills and anticipation and decisions. He's fantastic. Great hands, scores in every which way, involves all his teammates.
Popovich just put Jokic in the same conversation as Bird, one of the most skilled, cerebral, and competitive players in NBA history. And the comparison makes perfect sense. Just like Bird, Jokic isn't the most athletic guy on the court, but he's always the smartest. He controls the game with his mind, his passing, and his ability to score in every way possible. And no matter how great he is, he never lets it be just about him. He always involves his teammates. Popovich has coached against all types of superstars, but when it comes to Jokic, his praise is different. Because Jokic isn't just one of the best players in the league today. He's a one-of-a-kind basketball genius, the type we may never see again. When you start drawing comparisons between a player and Magic Johnson, you're not just talking about greatness, you're talking about a player who changes the way the game is played. And for Doc Rivers, Nikola Jokic is exactly that type of player. The former NBA champion coach and current analyst couldn't have been more clear when he spoke about Jokic's impact.
He's one of those guys, Magic Johnson type, that he makes his whole team better immediately. Everybody that plays on the floor. I would be scared if I was a GM to sign a player from the Denver Nuggets, because you really, he makes them that much better. And so you're trying to evaluate, well, if we take him, will this guy be that good?
That's not just praise, that's a warning to every NBA executive. Because Jokic doesn't just dominate the game individually, he elevates everyone around him. And that's exactly what made Magic Johnson special. If you play alongside Jokic, you will get easier shots, have more space to operate, look like a better player than you actually are. We've seen it time and time again. Aaron Gordon was a solid but inconsistent scorer in Orlando. Now he's one of the most efficient forwards in the league. Bruce Brown became a critical two-way player in Denver and secured a huge contract in free agency. Michael Porter Jr. gets open shots every night just by running the floor. Jokic's ability to maximize talent is unlike anything we've seen since Magic. And that's what Rivers is saying. He's not just great individually, he's a system. A system that makes everyone around him better, and a system that is nearly impossible to stop. So when Rivers compares Jokic to Magic Johnson, he's not just saying he's a good passer. He's saying Jokic might be one of the greatest offensive engines in NBA history. And honestly, he's not wrong. Rick Carlisle has been around the NBA for decades as a player, an assistant, and a head coach. He's coached championship teams, faced off against some of the greatest players in history, and developed elite defensive schemes to stop superstar talent. But when it comes to game planning for Nikola Jokic, even he admits, it's a completely different challenge. After one matchup where Jokic picked apart the Pacers' defense, Rick summed up his dominance in one sentence.
Yeah, I mean, he had 18 points and 19 assists. And, Miles is picking up full court, So they do some things unconventionally because of his unconventional abilities and skills and talent.
Think about that, 18 points and 19 assists. Most players who have 18 points are considered a solid scoring threat. Most players who have 19 assists are considered elite playmakers. But Jokic did both in the same game, and to Rick, that wasn't even the surprising part. Carlisle's comments capture something unique about Jokic's game. It forces teams to throw the game plan out the window. Most elite big men dominate in predictable ways. Shaquille O'Neal dominated in the post with brute force. Tim Duncan, fundamentally flawless with footwork and mid-range shots. Kevin Garnett, versatile on both ends but still played within traditional roles. But Jokic, he brings the ball up the court like a point guard. He throws full-court outlet passes with pinpoint accuracy. He controls the game with his mind, not just his skill. Carlisle even pointed out that Miles Turner had to pick up Jokic full court, which is not something you typically do against a center. You can't guard him traditionally. You can't trap him. He'll find the open man. You can't sag off. He'll hit the jumper. You can't switch smaller defenders onto him. He'll bully them in the post. No matter how you try to stop him, he'll adjust. And that's why Carlisle and so many other coaches have run out of ways to slow him down. Because how do you game plan for a player who doesn't even play by the usual rules? Chauncey Billups knows a thing or two about basketball IQ and game control. As a former NBA champion and Finals MVP, he built his career on understanding the game at a high level, making smart decisions, and exposing weaknesses in defenses. But when it comes to Nikola Jokic, even he admits, there's just nothing you can do. After watching his Trailblazers struggle to contain Jokic, Billups couldn't help but express his frustration.
He is really unique. I mean, there's just nothing like him. He brings the ball up the floor. I mean, he just does it all. He does it all. He puts you in a lot of tough spots defensively. He can pick out every coverage that you're in, and if you guard him with a small, he can punish the small. He can punish the big guy. He could do everything. He's just that good.
That last part? He's just that good. It's not just about Jokic's size. It's not just about his skill set. It's about his mind. Billups describes the core issue every team faces when defending Jokic. There's no good way to guard him. If you put a smaller, quicker defender on him, he'll bully them in the post. If you put a bigger, stronger defender on him, he'll drag them outside and pick them apart with his passing. If you double-team him, he'll find the open man before the help even arrives. And that's what makes him so unique. Most NBA superstars have weaknesses, things you can game plan for. Giannis Antetokounmpo, force him to take jumpers. Luka Doncic, make him work on defense and throw extra bodies at him. Steph Curry, be physical, run him off the three-point line, and live with contested twos. But Jokic, you can't speed him up. He plays at his own pace. You can't disrupt his vision. He sees everything before it happens. You can't outmuscle him. His footwork and strength make him dominant inside. No matter what defense you throw at him, he always has an answer. And that's why Billups is saying what so many other coaches have already admitted, there's just nothing you can do. Steve Kerr has coached some of the greatest players in NBA history. From Michael Jordan during his playing days to Steph Curry, Kevin Durant, and Klay Thompson as a coach, Kerr has seen firsthand what basketball excellence looks like. So when he calls Nikola Jokic the best player in the world, you listen. After another dominant performance by Jokic, Kerr didn't hold back.
I mean, he's the best player in the world, and I think our guys on our team, we have 12 of the best players in the world, and I think they would all tell you he's probably the number one guy right now, and he's so good that he's capable of carrying his team.
That's not just praise, that's a statement. Jokic isn't just one of the best players in the NBA, he's the guy right now. Kerr's words highlight something deeper about Jokic's dominance. He doesn't fit the traditional mold of an NBA superstar. He's not the fastest or the most explosive player on the court. He doesn't rely on highlight reel plays to take over a game. He doesn't even need to score 40 points to completely control a matchup. Instead, he wins with his mind, his ability to manipulate defenses, read the floor, and elevate his teammates. That's what makes him so dangerous, and that's why even a coach like Kerr, who has game planned against the best, admits that there's no stopping him. The last part of Kerr's statement is just as important. Jokic isn't just a star player, he's a franchise lifeline. When things get tough, he doesn't defer to someone else, he takes full responsibility for the Nuggets' success. Need a clutch bucket? He'll hit a fadeaway from the post. Need a perfect pass? He'll drop a no-look dime across the court. Need to slow the game down? He'll control the tempo like a point guard. And that's why Kerr says he's the best. Because no matter what the game demands, Jokic delivers. If one of the greatest coaches of this era says that Jokic is the best player in the world, what does that tell you? It tells you that Jokic has reached a level of dominance that's undeniable. That even among former MVPs, All-Stars, and future Hall of Famers, he stands alone. And when Steve Kerr speaks, you know it's the truth. Mike Budenholzer has spent years watching Nikola Jokic dominate the league, game planning against him, and trying to find ways to slow him down. And yet, even after everything he's seen, Jokic keeps getting better. Mike summed it up perfectly.
I mean, he's just, a great player. He's been doing it year after year after year now, so it's hard to find something new to say. I do think, the efficiency with which he's shooting the three ball, the willingness with which he's shooting the three ball, it's just, maybe taking his game to even another level.
That's a scary statement, because Jokic was already an MVP caliber player. He was already an elite passer, a dominant post player, and the best decision maker on the floor at all times. But now, he's added another weapon to his arsenal. Most superstars hit a peak and stay there. Shaq never developed a three-point shot. Tim Duncan refined his mid-range game, but never became a perimeter threat. Even LeBron took years to develop a reliable outside shot. But Jokic, even after winning multiple MVPs, he's still finding ways to improve. And Budenholzer points to one key area, his three-point shooting. It's not just about making threes, it's about confidence. Jokic isn't hesitating anymore. He's willing to take threes in big moments, he's knocking them down at a high clip, and he's forcing defenders to respect his shot, which opens up even more opportunities for him to control the game. And that's what makes him even more dangerous, because if a 7-foot center is hitting deep threes with confidence, what's left to take away? That's exactly why Budenholzer sounds exhausted. It was already hard enough to slow down Jokic before, now he's expanded his range, making him a walking cheat code. Even after winning back-to-back MVPs, Jokic isn't satisfied. And that's why, as Budenholzer said, he just keeps taking his game to another level. If there's one coach who knows firsthand just how impossible it is to stop Nikola Jokic, it's Erik Spoelstra. As the head coach of the Miami Heat, Spoelstra had to game plan against Jokic on the NBA's biggest stage, the finals. And after seeing Jokic dominate the series, he had a message for anyone who still doesn't understand what makes Jokic so special.
That's the untrained eye that says something like that. This guy's an incredible player. Twice in 2 seasons, he's been the best player on this planet. You can't just say, oh, make him a scorer.
That wasn't just praise. That was Spoelstra calling out the people who still don't get it. Spoelstra also made another bold statement. He called Jokic the best player in the world. And not just for one season, he said that Jokic has been the best 2 years in a row. That's coming from a 2-time NBA champion coach. A guy who has coached LeBron James, Dwyane Wade, and Chris Bosh and has faced some of the greatest players of all time. And he's saying Jokic is at the top. Think about that. A finals coach is saying that, for 2 straight years, no one has been better than Jokic. That's a huge statement. Spoelstra's frustration is the same thing every coach faces when trying to stop Jokic. Because how do you stop someone who doesn't have a weakness? He sees everything before it happens. He controls the game at his own pace. He scores when he wants, passes when he wants, and dictates every possession. The just make him a scorer strategy? It doesn't work. The just take away his passing plan? Good luck with that, because there's no blueprint to stop him. And that's why Spoelstra is right. If you still think Jokic is just a scorer, you're not watching the game the right way. Tyronn Lue has coached and played against some of the greatest players in NBA history. He's game planned for LeBron James, Kobe Bryant, and Steph Curry, leading teams through deep playoff battles and coaching against the most skilled offensive forces in the league. But when it comes to Nikola Jokic, Lue sees something truly special. After another dominant performance, Lue didn't hold back.
Right at the top with some of the all-time greats, and the way he can just dominate the game. passing the basketball, scoring the basketball, three-point shot, the one-leg fadeaways, offensive rebounds. He does a little bit of everything. And so when you see a center that can dominate the game without scoring the basketball, that says a lot about who he is and his talent level. And so he's right there at the top for me.
That last part, that's not just high praise, that's a level of impact we've rarely seen in NBA history. Lou's comments perfectly describe what makes Jokic different from every other superstar. Most MVP-level players dominate the game by scoring first. Michael Jordan, the most lethal scorer the game has ever seen. Kobe Bryant, a relentless bucket getter who always had the green light. Kevin Durant, a scoring machine with an unguardable jumper. But Jokic doesn't need to score to take over a game. He'll rack up 15 assists and make every teammate better. He'll control the tempo, slowing the game down to his own pace. He'll dominate the glass, securing extra possessions. And if he needs to score, he's got a soft touch in the paint. He can knock down one-legged fadeaways like Dirk Nowitzki. He's deadly from three when defenders give him space. He has every tool in the bag. But what makes him so unique is that scoring is just one small part of his game. Nikola Jokic isn't just great, he's changing the game. Across the NBA, the most respected coaches in basketball, from Steve Kerr to Greg Popovich, Eric Spoelstra to Tyronn Lue, have all reached the same conclusion. Jokic is different. His unorthodox style, unmatched vision, and ability to dominate without even scoring have forced the league to rethink what a center can be. He's a 7-footer who plays like a point guard. He controls the tempo of a game better than anyone. And no matter what defenses throw at him, he always finds a way to win. Jokic doesn't rely on athleticism. He doesn't chase highlight plays, and he doesn't force the spotlight onto himself. But somehow, he's the player every coach in the NBA fears the most. Because whether it's his passing, his scoring, or his leadership, Jokic isn't just one of the best players in the world, he is the best player in the world. And at this point, even his toughest opponents can't deny it.